Hey everyone, my name is Robert Chinito, an expert in the crypto space. I was building the industry along others before there was an industry about 15 years ago. 15 or more. Anyways, check this out. This has come out about Genius AI. Genius is an exchange. It's a new type of exchange, similar to I would say it's kind of similar to Uniswap V2. It changed the rules of exchange and did some great things. Now, one great thing that this will do is it can literally become a portfolio for everyone. A portfolio that's always gaining quite massive value. All right, that's about all I can say, but check this out. This is a new PDF from somebody in the community, and I got to say the Genius community has tremendous people in it who are very excited about Genius. I have not seen this level of excitement, conviction, and even determination. I have not seen this. In passion, I haven't seen this since early Bitcoin, like 2011, when people were starting to, when non-cryptography people and non-libertarian people were really starting to see how cool Bitcoin would be. 2011 was more around the time where a lot of libertarians started seeing it. So non-crypto people. And Genius is having its non-crypto people moment. And that's pretty exciting. I do wish the person who made this would upload a PowerPoint file or a Apple Keynote file, because that'd be great to navigate. So check this out. Stop gambling, be the house. Introducing the Genius Protocol, a structural upgrade to decentralized trading. I have not read this before, but by the time I got to the third slide, I already had some motivation for how Genius is really switching and changing the economic game that we're all playing. All right. The illusion of crypto wealth. Well, people who are very wealthy in crypto, they do have a little bit of illusion going on. This is similar to people who, there's an illusion of wealth on paper. But I'll tell you what, having the illusion of wealth is, I'd hate for it to be an illusion, but many of us are already very wealthy and very unaware of it. That's how I feel. So the illusion of crypto wealth. Thin liquidity makes it easy for whales to manipulate and crash prices. Compared to the world's entire economy, Bitcoin has pretty thin liquidity. But you know what? It's improving and improving, and it's turning into something amazing. The squeeze. A lot of people are likely feeling this right now, people who dabbled into crypto because they were sick of seeing all of their friends become richer. Retail holders are left holding the bag when large players dump their assets. Now, what does this mean? This means that it's easy to extract wealth from crypto people, and especially from crypto newbies, but from crypto people at large. And it's happened. It just happened recently. The reality, Bitcoin dropping from $120,000 to $65,000 isn't just a market cycle, it's structured extraction. That is the very problem with the economy today. The winners, the players with the most economic accumulation and wealth, they can structurally, and they do structurally, extract and cipher value from the population. Banks are experts at doing this. They're experts at extracting value from nations, common people, businesses, etc. Well, I see it we're sick of this. We don't have to play part in their game. We can make our own game that these big entities, they can't afford not to play with it. So the flaw in the plumbing. So this is like saying, well, what is the fundamental flaw here? And this is about where I stopped reading the slides, but it talks about imagine that this thing on the right, those are the order books and stuff of the current world. Order books today, they basically on one side, they have a bunch of people that list and put up assets and say, hey, I want to sell this and I want to sell it for this much money. This is how all trade works today in the world we know. And then this order book on the other side has all these buyers, all these people that have an account funded with cash that's all ready to go, saying, hey, I want to buy that thing, Bitcoin or whatever. I want to buy it. I have money sitting aside. Here's how much I want to buy it for. go ahead and read these two items here. Now, these rich entities, these super rich entities, and this is what happened with Bitcoin's price, what they're able to do is they're able to, if they, like this ring here, this ring represents like the current price. And if the price goes up, that means that these things here, these red things, they get replaced with green things, meaning the green things are the people that want to buy, and they're putting up cash to buy. Notice if you were to replace this red thing with green and this one, it's thin. Notice that it's thinner. That means it takes less energy to break, to change it. So this area is where it takes less energy for the price to move, less economic energy. So these big players, right, they're not on the sell side or the buy side. These players, they come in immediately and automatically, and they change these buy areas. They get rid of them completely. They remove this one, they remove the one below it, they remove the others, they remove them because they're extracting the wealth from people. And then what happens is you have this red order book area of people that want to sell, and then you have like all the way down here, let's say, people that want to buy. This represents a price going from like maybe $65,000 to $45,000 per Bitcoin. So now that ring, that gray ring, moves all the way down to $45,000 per Bitcoin. And everybody believes the price of Bitcoin is suddenly $45,000 per Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin really worth less just because big players decided to buy from people who were willing to buy for less? I mean, face it, we're all willing to buy for less. We're all willing to buy something at a discount. But what ends up happening, and the very flaw with the economy, is that the other people pop up and say, oh shit. They create their orders to sell their Bitcoin. They create it right here and here and here. So then you start seeing all these like red, let's call them slats, because I have no idea what to call them. You see all these red slats, right? You see like from $65,000 per Bitcoin to $45,000 per Bitcoin. There's not a whole lot of sell orders, but what you end up seeing is much thinner liquidity. So it makes it much easier for the price to move because it's thin. But what you have is you have these people on the very top who are able to influence the entire economy to say that that asset is worth less. Now they've just extracted lots of wealth from people, and they're extracting more wealth from people who want to sell Bitcoin because now they're starting to buy up the cheap Bitcoin for the people who were willing to go lower. This is the entire flaw with all markets that we have today. And that is why our economy is extremely flawed. Look, there's a saying in the movie A Beautiful Mind, and it's a great saying. In a game or a system like the economy, if you go first, you play perfect, and you still lose, it's flawed. The game is flawed. It's rigged against you. Think about it. You play a game. It's your move. You go first. You play perfectly. You should either win or draw, right? You should either win or like it's a tie. It's balanced still because the other side played perfectly too. You should not, any game you play should not be you go first, you play perfectly, and then you lose. No, that's a flawed system. And that's what the economy is today because the majority of our economy works like this. Order books. And these order books created because there was a middleman who was collecting fees. A middleman, the exchange. This PDF probably gets into it somewhere because this is the problem that Genius solves. Genius, yeah, I'll move on. So in this game, the house always wins. In this game here where people are selling and buying, and where are they selling and buying? On the New York Stock Exchange, on the Toronto Stock Exchange. They're selling and buying. They're buying and selling using some service. Some middleman helped bring everybody together. And that's great. That's valuable. But it's this middleman that is always going to win because they don't care if the market's up. They don't care if the market's down. They're providing the means to win. So here's what happens for the middleman. In our economy, the big flaw is that the big players win. The economy becomes an extraction machine for them. And when you start becoming richer, a big part of your job becomes strategizing to protect your wealth because everyone wants to extract it. Your friends want to extract it, or your so-called friends. Even family members want to extract it. Even strangers, right? Even strangers. And I've seen this firsthand. This happens. And even the state wants to extract money from you. I've seen this happen. This happened to me too. So once you make a lot of money, you need to protect it. Protect it from yourself and protect it from others. Because the game that your money works with, the economy that your money works with, is rigged. Another one of those winners, besides all of them, is the very market you're using. You see, what happens is the house always wins. Whether the market goes up or down, exchanges, they're always collecting fees. So for example, you have, what would we call it? For example, let's use credit cards as an example, right? Imagine you go to the store. You spend $50 on something, right? How much money does the middleman or the credit card processor get for that $50 sale? Think about it. Let's make numbers a little easier. Let's say it was a $100 sale. And the middlemen, the banks in the middle, they get 1% of that $100, right? So that $100, once it's charged on a card, $1 of it belongs to the middleman. Okay? Another $100 charge, another dollar belongs to the middleman. $2 total. Every charge that happens for $100, the middleman now has $1. So when $100 is moved from the entire economy 100 times, that middleman has an entire $100, and they got it for free. Sure, you can get into specifics about how it costs them money to set up and everything, but it's very much worth it for the business for them. That's exactly why they set this system up, because it's worth it. It helped a lot of people transact better. It was a very useful service, and they made lots of money. But you know what? The world is ready to move on. So think about this with an exchange. Coinbase. For every $100 of Bitcoin that Coinbase transacts back and forth, and this happens a lot of times in a day, Coinbase has another $100 for themselves for free. Kraken exchange, all these exchanges. But it happens a lot faster than that, because you see, on the crypto market, when somebody sells or buys, when somebody buys, there's always a seller. When someone sells, there's always a buyer. So really, that $100, if it's a 1% fee, it happens twice. It happens to the buyer, and it happens to the seller. So when $100 of Bitcoin is exchanged on this crypto exchange, this crypto gambling platform, or crypto acquisition platform, or crypto selling platform, $2 is made instead of $1. Does that make sense? So therefore, all it takes is 50 transactions of $100 on an exchange, 50 times, $100 being moved 50 times, and the exchange has a free $100. So exchanges, they've got bills to pay. Their corporate people have private jets to fly. They have expensive houses and mansions to pay for. So they're going to liquidate that. They're going to dump that on the very market they have. The exchanges have direct access to these people to just dump. So the house always wins. However, in our economy, not only does the house always win, but also the richest win constantly. And how do they win? What happens? What means they're winning? They're extracting money from you and making you more poor. And then they have more money to say, hey, dance, monkey. They have more money to pay you to dance. They go to strip clubs. They pay strippers to dance. They take advantage of the money that they have. So Genius switches this paradigm entirely. With Genius, you become the house. Like Genius doesn't have a house. You become the house. And also, Genius allows the richest to win, but they're unable to win as hard. They're able to win hard, yes, but not at the expense of others. It's pretty genius. It's literally genius. So this is the paradigm shift that we're going to see with Bitcoin. With Genius. Genius is such an amazing invention that when I think to myself, most amazing invention ever, Bitcoin. So I often accidentally call Genius Bitcoin. And Genius token, by the way, is Bitcoin technically. You can get Bitcoin from it, or you'll be able to once the Genius exchange opens again. But check this out. Here's the paradigm shift we're doing. We've got the paradigm shift of the corporate middleman. Corporate, just meaning body. This can be the nation middleman. This can be the richest people, whatever, the middleman, the person getting the fees. So now that is shifting to something where everyone owns it. A system where there is no middleman. There's no Visa, MasterCard. There's no IRS or Federal Reserve. There's no thing in the middle. And the system, just like what the gambling house does or just like the middleman does, the system still captures a fee. People use it because it's valuable. Like if you trade in the crypto world, you don't want an MEV bot to hit you up. Now, if you trade in the crypto world, you know very well what an MEV bot is. Did you know that the other day, it's currently March 2nd, the other day, somebody transacted $200,000 on a decentralized exchange, and an MEV bot came in and basically stole, using the system's rules, using the system's flaws, stole $195,000. So the person who transacted $200,000, they only got $5,000 of it. You play first, you play perfectly, and you lose, there's a flaw. This person didn't play perfectly. But point is, people will use Genius's exchange again when it's relaunched because it solves problems like this. So with this paradigm shift, with this huge paradigm shift coming up, don't you want to be prepared and be part of it? Like, what if you held a token that captured all of this exchange's profits? That would be pretty awesome. So Genius is a dual engine ecosystem. Remember, this is my first time seeing this. I love the pictures. There's the Genius exchange. It's automatically trading on the blockchain, and it's always online, and it's always generating fees. How is it always generating fees? Well, look, the markets, you see on my screen here, but the markets are always changing in price. So if the markets are always changing in price, in order for any other exchanges, like order book or prices to change, people buy low from one exchange and sell high on the other because there are price differences. Or people sell on one exchange that has a higher price than some other exchange. So because there are so many exchanges out in the world, bots and professional traders, they're constantly taking advantage of the value difference. I used to do this myself. You make a lot of money. Well, not myself, as a company. So Genius has an exchange that will always run. And whoever owns the token, they own all the collateral that exchange has, and they own all of the revenue that the Genius exchange has. Heck, where does Genius token come from in the first place? It comes from, you have to put up collateral. The exchange needs collateral to use that collateral and make revenue from it. This isn't a new idea. But why hasn't this been done before? Well, because Bitcoin didn't exist before. Ethereum didn't exist before. New ways of exchanging that are different than this model here, they didn't exist before. They weren't proven to work. Now they are. So the time has come. And why isn't everybody using this already? Well, this Genius exchange was up for 6 months, and then there was a problem. It died. So it's coming back, and people cannot wait for it. They're excited about it. All right. You see, Genius's exchange and Genius's token itself, it's backed by hard assets. We consider Bitcoin, Ethereum, and US dollars to be hard assets today. So you take those assets, you provide those assets to Genius's exchange that does trading differently. And then what happens? Well, you get Genius token, and Genius token is directly backed by this collateral and the revenue. Why haven't we thought about this before, right? Now, if you're a liquidity provider who is already familiar with this, you know how it is. Go ahead, provide liquidity on Uniswap. Get rug pulled. Go for it. Now, what makes Genius different? Well, what makes Genius different is, you know, when you're providing liquidity, let's say for US dollar token and, I don't know, Hex or something like that, you're basically sitting there for everybody who wants to take your dollars, or you're sitting there for everybody that wants to take your Hex. And you as a liquidity provider, you're betting that there's going to be at least an equal number of buyers and an equal number of sellers. You know that's not always the case, but that's where you make your revenue. That's where you make your revenue. But you're depending on there being an exchange, right? So with Genius, Genius is a system that's like, it's almost guaranteeing that there will always be exchange, because right now there's always exchange for Bitcoin's price. Right now there's always exchange for Ethereum's price. Right now there's always exchange for US dollars price relative to it. So you are always, as a liquidity provider, I believe very strongly that liquidity providers are going to make a lot more money using Genius's exchange, and their value is going to be much better. All right, so this video so far is about a little more than 20 minutes. I'm going to make a video on the ending half of this. So this is the first half of like, well, what do we call it? This is the first half of like, yeah, stop gambling. Stop being the trader, the Forex person. You can become the house now. And you don't need a lot of money to do it. I'm guessing the next sections in here are about, let's see. Yeah, the next parts here are basically about how Genius's system works different to make something that humanity hasn't seen before, but humanity has been trying to make for hundreds of years. For hundreds of years, humanity has been trying to make an asset that only becomes more valuable over time. Like, for example, by the way, when I put my hands up like this, I have a screen over here that had a firework go off. It was kind of hilarious. Too bad I don't have anybody editing my videos. They'd put a firework in there. But humanity has been working on making an asset that only increases in value. That's what all stocks are today. It's a company that makes an asset called a stock. They follow regulations from the SEC, and their goal is to make that asset worth more and more and more over time. Very few companies actually do this, or very few companies have done this so far. So, and we see that even with currency, kinda. We see that with human beings, wanting to get more gold or looking for more precious metals. Humanity wants a store of value that only increases in value over time. And so far, Bitcoin is the closest thing to do that. Because when you look at the past of Bitcoin, you sit there, you look at the past. What do you see when you look at the past of Bitcoin? You see, oh, it looks like the price only went up, except recently. Bam. And when you look at the future of Bitcoin, you're like, well, if that pattern continues, obviously the price of Bitcoin is going to be up and up. So people, therefore, have been very curious about Bitcoin. What I'm saying here is that Genius's token possibly made, well, I'm pretty convicted of it. I'm going to say it made it, an asset that will only rise in value. It depends on its revenue, its stock. So if you're curious how that actually happens, because look, I'm not the creator of Genius. I'm like the person, like during Bitcoin, there are people who thought I created Bitcoin. No, I'm just very passionate about Bitcoin. No, I didn't create Bitcoin. No, I didn't create Dash or whatever. No, I didn't create Genius. I'm very passionate about these things because they're giving people a new reality that they've wanted all this time. And there's a lot of money involved in it. So next video, I'll read the rest of this.